Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. Welcome. My name is Tina, and I'm the marketing manager for Twarna. I handle core marketing activities such as increasing brand awareness, promotional campaigns, developing collateral, and lead generation. Today's webinar will be covering the exciting topic of demand planning and how NetSuite's module can help optimize inventory, demand, and supply. We'll cover some terminology about demand planning and their application within the supply chain management area. We'll also do a couple of walkthrough demos in NetSuite directly. Before that, let's go over a few things. Our demos will be conducted in a NetSuite test account, which may be just a little bit slower than what you're used to, so please bear with us. We have a chat feature available on this platform where you can ask any questions, so please be sure to leverage this for any queries, and we will cover them towards the end of our session. I will also be sharing a few polls during the webinar just to learn a little bit more about you, our audience, and to improve future sessions. Lastly, I'd like to share a few pieces of background information pertaining to our company, Twarna. We were founded in 2007 as a Salesforce and NetSuite consulting firm, and in 2008, we became a NetSuite solution provider. In 2014, we created our first suite app, SkyDoc, which is a storage solution for NetSuite. We now have over 8 apps on suiteapp.com and continue to provide support, managed services, and integration services for NetSuite and Salesforce clients. And on to our presenter for today, Sindhura Sirelli. Sindhura is our senior NetSuite consultant who has over 3 years of experience on NetSuite, centered around implementation and providing support. Welcome, Sindhura.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm really excited to share my insights.
Okay, Sindhura, let's get started. Um, just starting off with a basic question. What exactly is demand planning?
Okay, so demand planning is a supply chain management process of forecasting or predicting the demand for products to ensure they can be delivered to satisfy customers' requested and or expected delivery dates. The goal here is to strike a balance between having sufficient inventory levels to meet customer needs without producing a surplus. Ultimately, excess product on the shelf is capital tied up.
Thanks for that explanation, Sindhura. Can you also go into detail as to why demand planning is so important?
Sure, I can do that. There are a couple of important reasons that I'd like to go over. When product isn't available for customers to purchase because of stocking issues, businesses will end up losing out on revenue. Even more importantly, over time, they could lose the customer to a competitor. The other side of that coin is sitting on an excess of unused inventory incurs unnecessary space and production costs. With demand planning, business leaders can stay in front of market shifts and make more proactive decisions while being responsive to their customers' needs. An important note here is that demand planning allows a business to be proactive compared to reactive.
All right, can you tell us how NetSuite handles demand planning?
Yeah, so now that we have covered at a high level what demand planning is and the importance this process plays in our business, so let's discuss what NetSuite offers within the demand planning module. So the NetSuite native demand planning module is specifically designed to provide the user with the ability to predict required inventory based on historical demand or sales forecasts. The calculated demand plan can then be leveraged to analyze supply requirements on inventory levels and or required production of assembled goods. One of the key features that NetSuite delivers is the ability to easily define multiple inventory locations with real-time visibility. Locations can be organized hierarchically, and for global businesses, the country can be defined. During the planning process, the system can be set up to automatically create transfer orders between locations where necessary by utilizing a replenish by location report. So demand can be evaluated and presented in a number of different ways using the demand planning process. The menu structure is laid down in a way that shows the process to calculate demand, review the demand plans, and edit where required. Once satisfied with the demand plan calculations, we can then generate the supply plans, review and edit those, and finally generate planned purchase orders and or planned work orders.
Sindhura, what are some of the most common planning methods?
Sure. Demand can be calculated based on any of the following methods. The available planning methods that we have in NetSuite are linear progression, regression, moving average, seasonal average, and sales forecast. Linear regression use previous demand to project future inventory based on the ordinary least square regression method. Moving average use the moving average of historical demand to calculate the overall average stock level needed and then project future stock levels using that overall average. Seasonal average use previous demand to examine the seasonal trend of inventory flow and then project a similar seasonal trend for future stock levels. Sales forecast what using NetSuite. When using NetSuite for your sales operations, this option uses forward looking sales forecast data such as opportunities, estimates, sales orders, or work orders to project inventory demand. NetSuite's demand planning can also be used to offer your sales team important product availability information during the sales cycle process by introducing an expected shipment date by the automatically calculated available to promise function.
Sindhura, to interrupt you for a moment, you just mentioned available to promise. Could you go over that functionality?
Sure. Available to promise is also known as ATP. Included with NetSuite demand planning can be determined by one of two different calculations. One is of cumulative ATP with look ahead. Using the cumulative ATP with look ahead method, supply estimates are cumulative based on all outstanding orders within a horizon. This allows you to account for shortages that may occur in the future. And we have discrete ATP also. The discrete ATP method reviews the amount available in each supply order and provides an available date for the given quantity. So these supply calculations are based on future dated non-posting transactions such as purchase orders, sales orders, and work orders. These supply calculations offer added visibility for purchasing and sales departments into the projected ship date of goods during the ordering process, allows the user to check item availability based on upon outstanding supply type orders and demand based orders. So we can see all of our demand and supply needs by viewing the gross requirement inquiry. So I'll explain what exactly the gross requirement inquiry. The requirement inquiry provides an overview of the progressive supply and demand cycle by listing quantities required and quantities supplied on each transaction date listed. So each transaction and date is listed along with the more on hand or less on hand quantity of the transaction as well as the resulting total quantity on hand for the item. So we'll see how do demand plans work. So a demand plan records the expected future demand for an item based or on previous or projected demand. NetSuite allows you to automatically generate demand plans or to manually enter an item demand plan. The user can elect to analyze demand by using one of the following methods. Set a time frame for examining an item's historical sales data and forecast future sales with similar trends. Use the current entered demand based on open opportunities, codes, and existing sales orders. Now let's see what are supply plans. Supply plans are the recorded recommended schedule for procuring and or manufacturing of additional supply of an item. NetSuite utilizes two options for replenishment methods for an item, reorder point and time phased. NetSuite will incorporate reorder points, lead times, safety stock, preferred stock level along with current demand by location when calculating the item supply plan. Multi-tied assemblies are considered. The generated supply plans will suggest on or auto-generated sub-assembly work orders as well as components required for the build. Tina, please let me know if you can see my screen.
I can see your screen.
Okay, so let us now navigate through some of the demand planning screens in NetSuite. We'll now take a look at our item record, which is where we really start with our demand planning settings when it comes to ATP, what type of demand planning replenishment method we would like to use. Okay, so this record also allows us to set specific and unique demand and supply plan attributes by each location that I may be operating the item under. So for today's demo, we are going to discuss this item that is using available to promise method of cumulative or replenishment method of time phased. And we'll scroll down and we can see based on location some quick inventory levels as well as I can see my lot sizing method, which is lot for lot, which means the amount in my demand is the amount I will order. Our supply type is purchase. If this were an assembly product where I need to generate a work order, the supply type would be built. And we have our demand source, which is of forecast from demand plan. And then I have some time fence information where I can do a demand time fence, supply time fence, and my schedule in and out days. Okay, so now let's take a look at our first page in demand planning, which is gonna be calculate item demand plans. So on the demand planning screen, I can choose to let the system auto calculate, which is what we are going to do today. And I'm gonna look at my first warehouse, and my projection method today is going to be linear regression, and projection interval is going to be monthly. And I'm gonna tell the system that I wanna look forward by 3 months, and then I wanna look behind for the last 12 months or 1 year to analyze these items inventory history. Once I have done that, I have an option to mark all and run the plan for all the items. Today, we are going to use a specific example for this demo. So I'll select this item. Once I'm happy with my selection, I'll click on submit and let the engine kick off. Now, if we have the current demand plan in the system, NetSuite will give the opportunity to only calculate the values that will be updated against my current previously calculated demand plan. Or if I want to choose the otherwise, the previous plan calculated values as well as the new values. Today, we are going to override the current quantities and recalculate the entire plan. So once I hit submit, NetSuite will now find all the transactions for the time frame I have chosen. After the system has calculated our demand plan, I can see all the plans here and I can choose to view the plan which I have generated now. So again, we get a chance to see all the information we have chosen for this plan, and below we can see our demand over time. So I see the system is telling me I have monthly calculated need of 100 and a quantity of 100 to be respective for the demand plan. So after once we are done with the demand plan, the next transaction in line is going to generate our supply plan. So let's navigate to demand planning and then generate item supply plan. Today I'm going to choose the same locations. So I'll choose my subsidiary and then location. So on the supply plan, I'll enter a date range. By default, the system was to look at 30 days of supply. I can expand the time if I want to analyze further time frames for my supply plan. So I'm gonna take 1 month ahead, and now that NetSuite, and we can select an item here. Once we are satisfied with our selection, I hit submit. Okay, so now that NetSuite has run our supply plan, we can now see the list of current supply plans below, and then we can go and select our supply plan that we had just generated based on our demand. So I'll open our plan. Okay. Here we can see the list of suggested order date and receipt date, the order type of purchase order, and quantity needed. So now NetSuite has generated the item supply plan for us. We can then go and order our items through our NetSuite order items page. Let's go to demand planning and order items. So here we can see the list of suggested buys from the system's demand plan engine. On top, I can choose to filter down my results as necessary by min order quantity. I'll select my location. And if you want to have the minimum quantity, we can have. And then I can also adjust my date range to view which orders are necessary. Then I'll see a list of products by location that the system is suggesting that I buy. Here in the vendor column, I can have a preferred vendor. If we set our preferred vendors on the item record, system will automatically pull them to this page. So once we have vendor chosen in our list, we can then choose to check the box. Once we are satisfied with our selection, then we can just click on submit. And once I'm satisfied, I hit submit. Now NetSuite will run a process where it is going to bulk generate purchase orders for me and then produce them in a status I choose. So I choose them to be default by the systems in a pending approval status where someone can just review and send them off to the supplier. So let's wait until it is completed. It's still in progress, and now we have purchase order generated here. This is how the purchase order is generated with items to the supplier. That is all about the demand planning, and back to Tina.
Awesome. Thanks, Sindhura. That was a lot of information in that demo. Now let's take a moment to go over inventory count. What is inventory count? Inventory count is our suite app that helps users sync physical warehouse to inventory on NetSuite, and it utilizes three types of counts: singular, inventory, and lot. Sandura is now going to do a quick overview of the suite app.
Thanks, Tina. Let me share my screen. Tina, let me know once you can see my screen.
I can see your screen.
Okay, perfect. So first of all, we will be starting with a scan items page, which is located in inventory count, and item scanning. So the reason to bring this into the whole idea of what we just discussed of demand planning is, so demand planning is our systematic world where inventories are on physical world, and having third inventory access is the key to accurate demand and supply planning, as we all aware. So NetSuite does offer a few inventory count methods. So what Twarna has done is built its elevated features set on top of NetSuite's inventory count options by allowing us serialized barcode scanners outside of warehouse management system module, but similar to it, where now we get to do cycle counting directly by scanning into the system. We also have ability to generate different cycle counts by filtering our items on list of different segments or attribute values outside of just classifications that we have of A, B, or C. We also have a way to filter and build out our inventory worksheet and present it in an exportable format so that we can then run the import to a preset mapping developed through the app. So now on this page, this is where you can use a scanner. But because we don't have one to use for this demo, you can also copy and paste or type the item name or number. So to get the existing item, I want to just use this bin item worksheet, and I'm copying first item name. I'll go back. I'll click somewhere on the screen. So now we get to choose location if we want, and the bin, also serial or lot numbers if applicable. So I'm gonna give some number, just assuming that this item is a serialized, and I'll select this and click on submit. Sorry, I'm choosing a location, and also for now I'm choosing a bin. So once we click on submit, this would complete the item scanning process. Okay, so we are now navigated to inventory detail screen. So this would complete the item scanning process if you had a scanner to import your physical quantities and see the variance. Now we do get an inventory configuration page here in inventory count and inventory configuration, where essentially what we have done is automated the mass update entry page towards this is more cycle count or inventory count specific, where I can select and filter my items from here by few different ranges, item specific locations, bin type, filter my item here. So I'm not doing filter now, but if we have any item specific ones, we can do this here. So once I filter this, I can then see all the list of items below. And then next, if we want to do any count interval update or next count date, we can keep it here and update the records, or we can create the records. So this is how we can do the configuration. And after this, we also have inventory worksheet, which is split by if you wanted to run by bins or non-bin items. So on bin items worksheet screen, so we will find all the items that have more than a zero quantity. So the filters would be the same for both bin and non-bin item worksheets. So filters include name, location, bin number, is serialized item. If you want, you can just select that, is lot number. And for example, I can filter this by location. Now we have got all the items which we wanted to count. So we can just use any one of these options to make easy. So we have a CSV, we have a Excel, and we have a PDF. And Other way is that if you want someone to count the physical inventory and update us, you can just directly email from here, and this will send an email with all the results. So for now, I would be exporting this to a CSV. So here we export it, and then we keep all our physical inventory count here and serial or lot numbers if applicable. So let's say we have 18 and we have 20 here for this item and 2 for this item. Let's assume this way. And I just wanted to do for only few of these items. I'll copy into one another sheet and I'll just save with any name. And in a CSV Excel CSV format. So save. Now we have a file. So we have built a saved template, CSV template, under import or export saved CSV imports under a name of inventory count suite app import. So once you click on that, you get to choose your file from here. So select, I'm going to select the file here and just click next. We don't have to worry about anything here. Again, click next. And now, so since this is a saved one and we have did all the mappings for you, so we just have to click next. No need to map anything. And I choose to run, not to save as or not to save as and run. We'll see import job status. So here we can see whether it is successfully imported or not. So now I can see that these three are successfully imported. We also have analytics in inventory count, which is inventory analytics. We have success inventory count and failure inventory count. So success inventory count will show all of the data. I'll choose the date. Anything. Okay, let's take an example here. So we'll show all the data that was successfully imported. So it will also show any inventory adjustments. And this is same with the failure as well. So once if we have any failure inventory count data, then we'll go to here and we can check what has failed. This is all about the inventory count. And now back to Tina.
Awesome. Thanks, Sindhura. And that concludes today's webinar. I would like to give Sindhura a big thank you for providing us with such useful information. And I'm going to leave you with all our contacts. Should you have any questions, we have team members all over the world to help facilitate your needs. Thank you once again, and bye for now.
Thanks everyone. Until next time.